Hey everybody, this is Steve Kodad. I thought this was a good time for me to do this particular subject for everybody. Uh, it's not going to be real long, it's about 60 minutes long, but this is on health and Feng Shui. And Feng Shui has an awful lot to do with health. One of the reasons why it had a lot of interest to me in the first place. But I remember actually about 8 to 10 years ago, I was at a particular business and they were doing workshops on health, and I was invited, and some of the employees asked me why somebody involved with Feng Shui was there to talk about health. And it was a real easy answer for this one, because really everything revolves around health, as you're going to see here. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, I think this is a very timely subject. So what's Feng Shui? Well, it's an extremely old environmental science. And depending on what book you pick up, it's 3,000 to 5,000 years old. And it considers things like order, beauty, harmony, nature, health, balance, the feeling of being secure and being very comfortable. And a very simplistic definition of this is the art of placement. And if you've done any studying on Feng Shui, you know that is very simplistic, that it's an awful lot more about where, other than just where the bed goes or where the couch goes. I like this definition a lot better than that one. It's living in harmony with the natural world. And as you're going to see as we get into this particular presentation, the idea of the natural world, our nature, comes into play over and over. Now, really everything revolves around health in Feng Shui. And to totally prove that, if I bring up the Bagua, which if you've done any studying, you know it's an energy template or map that looks like this. And surrounding health in the center are all these particular life situations. And really, you can look at it this way, that if the center, the health, is not going very well, if you're ill, all these other possible life situations are going to be impacted negatively. So it's an extremely important part of Feng Shui, even to the point where I always mention to my classes that sleep is one of the most important things with respect to your health. And if that is not taken care of well, by, yes, placing the bed in the right place and doing the bedroom a particular way, then everything else sort of goes to pot. So again, health is at the center of the Bagua. So to me, health is extremely important. It always has been, but especially now with what's going on in our world. And I hope over this hour, you're going to get some ideas that have survived for a long, long time for a person to be healthy. And this is about improving your environment. And of course, Feng Shui is all about the environment. So this was one important reason I became really turned on or enamored with Feng Shui, is that it has a very strong effect on a person's subconscious. And I need to tell you a little bit about subconscious so you understand how pivotal that is with respect to your health and my health. Your subconscious takes up pretty much 95% of all decisions. Over the years, you have built these templates of how you react from your experience. You don't even think about these things. Think about riding a bike. Okay, we always say, you know, you never forget how to do that. Well, there's an awful lot of other things that have been built in or been wired into you. So we fall back on these things for an awful lot of things that we do every day. And so the 5% that's left, which is the consciousness, you know, that really became very important, especially when we were living on the savannah and we had to be able to react really quickly to things that were right in front of us. So that's still there. So I don't want to put that down, but the subconscious is really more powerful in shaping our reality and how we actually react to things. So if the subconscious thinks a situation is bad, believe me, it's bad, okay? And it can quickly get a lot worse. So you want to always sort of remember that that's really what's making the decision of how happy you are and even how healthy you are. A quick definition of health: the state of being free from illness or injury, complete physical, mental, and social well-being. So there's more to it than just the physical part of it, which of course is extremely important right now. But health is not just physical. I'm sure you probably already know that. It also is mental and it is also emotional. So every one of those things I really want to bring up right now because they all sort of tie in together. If your mental health right now is not good, it's affecting you on these other levels too. It's affecting you physically. It's hurting your immune system. So Feng Shui can be really helpful for all of these, directly or indirectly. And I totally understand if you're feeling some of these same things that I'm feeling, being nervous, frightened, worried, and really unsure of what's going to go on in the future. But we're going to start with the idea of feeling safe and secure. And I'm not talking about a deadbolt on the door or your security system. I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking again about the subconscious here. We want to make sure that you feel safe and secure in your environment. And if we do that first and we do it well, everything else sort of is impacted positively. So we got to achieve that. And then we're capable of really taking on other things that come up, some challenges head on. And some of them could be very worrisome for us in the future. So if we focus on that, and we focus on that idea subconsciously, that leads to us then being more comfortable in our environment. And as days go by, with us being cooped up like we are right now, let's face it, comfort is a very important thing. So feeling comfortable in our environment allows us then to focus on anything else that comes up at this point. You know, whether your significant other starts to feel poorly or whatever. So one thing I constantly say to my classes is that Feng Shui is a domino effect. It really is. And the idea is if you feel safe right away, you're more comfortable in that particular setting. And if you feel more comfortable in that setting, in that environment, you automatically become more successful in whatever you need to focus on at that point. So let's get this first step completed so we can concentrate on our family's health and our health. So safety and security in Feng Shui are very different from, again, the usual things that you may think of. So with Feng Shui, we start with the idea of eliminating some stress caused by particular objects. And they're referred to as poison arrows. So that's the first thing we're going to talk about in this presentation is handling poison arrows in our environment. So normally when I do an evaluation, I'm looking for poison arrows primarily from somebody's bed, in their bedroom, of course, or from their favorite chair where they sit down and maybe watch a couple of hours of TV or whatever. But poison arrows can crop up anywhere, inside and outside. So in the furniture or in the walls, they may have these pointy, sharp edges pointing towards your body, or worse, as it says here, to your head. So when we have something like that, we want to handle the situation, whether we use fabric, like with a curtain, or possibly placing something in front of it, like a plant. Okay? In this particular picture, there's a poison arrow in here. And if you were to lie down on that chair for long periods of time, especially, you might feel that effect. And this effect has been actually proven. And knowing my background, I really needed to be able to flesh these things out to make sure that it really did exist. So the poison arrow is right here, this sharp edge of this piece of furniture. So if you lay down on that chair and you decided to, I don't know, doze off or read a book or whatever, and you were there for a long period of time, especially, you would feel some weakening, some effect. And over the course of weeks and months and so forth, it just gets a little worse. You become more stressed. So you can understand that in a bedroom, especially, I have to take care of those things because you're in those positions sometimes from 7 to 9 hours. So even a tray ceiling, like you see here, can be a problem. So if you have a tray ceiling above your head, there are some cures for it, but you might want to just not sleep in that bed at this point, or move the bed out from underneath those beams. Those are considered, again, poison arrows, which give an awful lot of extra negative energy coming right at us. So there's really no way for me to put a plant in between that. I certainly could drape some fabric over it. The cure in a lot of cases is to paint the beams the same color as the ceiling, but you might not want to do that at this point, but it's definitely a possibility. But you might also want to sleep in another bedroom for a while. So poison arrows can affect us in a lot of ways. It can affect our health. It can affect our mental well-being. In this particular picture, we have a poison arrow right here. So I hope you can visualize the idea that if somebody lies down in that bed, that poison arrow could point right at their head all night long. So the idea would be to move the dresser down the wall or out, or drape something over the corner like fabric or maybe a plant. But those are the kind of things that I'm constantly looking for, because quite often the clients that I work with are having some health problems, are having some difficulties getting a good night's sleep. So tackling these poison arrows inside of a home are very important. And here's a couple of examples. You know, you might have some open bookcases and shelves. You could put some doors on the bookcase, okay? You could possibly move the books so they're flush with the edge of the shelf, or you can cover them, again, with fabric, especially if you're going to be in that particular location for a while. Another very common one that I run into are columns and pillars. And here I just add a tall plant in front of it, between the person and the column. You might have a staircase right inside the front door. So in this case, you want to block that situation. So you can use, again, plants, a curtain, a folding screen is something that quite often I do advocate. Again, we've talked about overhead beams, so I'm not going to mention this too much more, but again, hanging a canopy over your bed can work just fine. Now, chandeliers and ceiling fans over a bed are also something that has poison arrows to them. So again, that's not the best situation. So quite often, I get my clients to hang a faceted crystal from the fixture to distribute the negative energy a little more evenly, you know, not directly on top of that. And often I see in a bedroom a protruding corner of a wall into the room. So again, placing a plant can handle that situation also. And then there are tables and other furniture in a bedroom that you might need to rearrange, or maybe put a plant in between yourself and the piece of furniture, or again, using some fabric. So just to back this up, and I'm going to give you some research at this point so you believe me when I'm trying to say here. Here's a particular study that was done at this university in Japan, and they found out that rounded corners compared to ones that had 45 and 90 degrees, there was quite a difference. And the idea is that these corners actually elicited larger negative feelings on the people that were living there. So this has been proven. I could even quote some other ones. So poison arrows are sharp edges. You don't want to have a lot of that pointing at you all the time. It weakens you and hurts your immune system. I'm going to advocate a lot about getting outside, but even your views are very positive. Being very positive is important. So I'm going to want you to get outside a little bit and get some sunlight, as you're going to see. But one of the things you might want to do is to improve the views from your bedroom or from your favorite room that you're going to be spending an awful lot of time in during this period of time. Again, Feng Shui is a big, big, big supporter of the natural world, sunlight. So I'm going to advocate you get outside as much as possible that's safe. You want to do your social distancing for sure, okay? But the idea, getting out and getting some exercise, breathing some fresh air, and especially getting that sunshine is very important. So I'm going to supply some scientific research to back up how important sunlight and plants are to you and your health and your immune system. Here's a couple. This was a study that was done on offices that had windows, access to a window, and those that did not. Sadly, an awful lot of our offices nowadays are in the interior, and they do not get a chance to see nature all the time. They don't get to see the sunlight, the trees. So they found a study that this situation is negative to your health. If this is all you ever actually experience during a work day, it's not good for you. And there are several countries that have actually taken this to another step. They have offices like this too. It's not just in the United States. So they've actually mandated the idea that you have every 60 minutes the ability to get up and walk by a window, at least every 60 minutes. So in this study, they found that an employee was actually healthier, more productive, and happier when they had access to an outside view. A particular study proved this. So this is what we're looking for. So I guess there's something to say about those corner offices, right? So again, you want to take in nature. You don't want to be housed up in an interior office or in an interior room all day long, especially during this situation with what's going on. It's just going to hurt your immune system. It's going to make it easier for you to get sick. Here's another study that happened in the state of Wisconsin, and they found that the more green space where you live, the happier you seem to be. And it goes even further than that. But they use satellite data, and they found out that if the area that you live in has less than 10% tree canopy, that you're more likely to be depressed, stressed, and anxious. So trees, landscaping are very important to your health. Certainly, even just bringing in live plants to your office or into your home right now can be very, very helpful to you and give you some strong health benefits. Here's another one. The idea of clutter. Again, if you've read about Feng Shui, you know clutter is a big deal. And so reducing clutter and becoming more organized will greatly improve your mental state, greatly. Have you ever felt like you walk away or you go to work someday and you know you left those chores behind and it sort of nags at you all day long? That's not good. You want to get more organized. You want to handle clutter. And so when you procrastinate, we have this mental burden that we carry around with us. Again, that doesn't help us mentally and then eventually physically. Here's a study that backs it up that there are psychological effects of clutter to people. They found out that clutter in sight competes for your brain resources and prevents focus and limits our processing power. It's not good for you. So here's a great time with you now being cooped up or housed right now inside where you can take on a lot of different projects that you've been putting off. Get yourself organized. You'll find out your life runs a lot easier. You'll have less stress and you will be healthier. As I said, it's a good time to get some other tasks done. Maybe repainting a room a cheery color will give you even more positive feelings. But you want to make sure that you get up every day with some ideas that you want to take care of, some tasks, some goals. You don't want to just go through the day feeling sorry for yourself or depressed. And again, adding to that, you might want to get outside and do some small gardening tasks. Certainly you want to, again, consider social separation, but this is a good time to do some of this too. And in Feng Shui, curves are what you're looking for. So if you have flower beds that are straight lines, perpendicular lines or straight lines, I would get rid of those at this point because it hurts the movement of the energy or the chi on the outside and eventually what comes in inside. So go ahead and take one of these as a goal and work on that. Excuse me, and add some color. Now, if you look at the window to the right there, can you understand that if you walk by that window or your desk is right there and you can look out the window and see some beauty, that it can actually help you also positively? So there are two benefits here. You can get out, get a little exercise, get some sun, but you can also reap the benefits from looking out the window and having a beautiful view. You want to make sure your home is getting a fair share of positive chi every day. One of the things we talk about in classes all the time is making sure the front door is fantastic. And so the door could be another one of your tasks if you want to repaint it. It needs to be a contrasting color to the exterior of the house, like this is, okay? And so you might want to repaint the door. The door, this entrance is pivotal in Feng Shui. It's the primary place for most of our chi, our nourishing chi, to come into the house. So if you're not getting your fair share, you're hurting yourself. So I always want to frame the door nicely, like with rounded pots with color. So this gives you a primary example of what I'm looking for. So you got to make sure you get your fair share of chi every day. So if your door looks lousy or you're not attracting any kind of effect because you haven't framed it or you've left it go, you're hurting yourself. Here's another quick tip. Leave your shoes outside. You can track negative energy and negative particles into the house. There's a lot of different ethnic groups that follow this. If you've been in real estate for a while, I'm sure you've ran into it many times. Here is the normal family right now, which I'm not saying is positive. Everybody's sort of doing this, okay? And anything can be overdone. And I promise you, a lot of us are overdoing these things. So you want to get away from some of this. Too much of this is not good. So come up with some creative ways of having communication and talking and playing games. A little bit of this is fine. And there's no way I know that I can ever take those things away from you. But you want to make sure that you don't overdo it. Now, to go along with that idea, you want to consider the idea of too much EMF, electrical magnetic fields. And electrical magnetic fields are very prevalent in some houses. They're actually prevalent in all houses to some degree. And I actually even have a machine that I actually go through my evaluations, checking out how much EMF is here or there all throughout the house. I'm mostly worried about the EMF in the bedrooms, but I'm also worried about the EMF if your favorite chair is next to a wall that has too much, maybe faulty wiring. So let's talk a little bit about EMF. There are some symptoms that you definitely want to stay away from. You can have sleep disturbances. You can have some headaches because of EMF. You can be depressed. You can be tired. You can have a lack of concentration. Your memory might be messed up. You could become dizzy. And to give you an example, your microwave, my microwave, they're important for sure, but they do expose you to EMF a lot more than you think they do. The Environmental Protection Agency recommends that you limit your exposure to 0.5 milligauss to 2.5. When you're 3 feet away or closer to a microwave, you are exposed to 25 milligauss. Not good, not good at all. So you want to stay away from that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm not saying you can't use your microwave. Use your microwave, but walk away. Come back when it's finished. You don't want to get too close. Don't have your children too close. But that's only, as it says here, the tip of the iceberg. All of these things that are pointed out here have EMF. I mean, you probably have heard somebody at one time in your life say, "Don't sit so close to the TV." Well, they weren't being wrong about the situation. They were worried about your eyesight, I suppose. But the EMF coming off a television, the EMF coming off even the refrigerator, there is EMF throughout. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, the tablet, your computer definitely has EMF. Again, it's not excessive like some things, but too much of it is not good for you. So there's a lot of sources, a lot of things that you maybe want to curtail a little bit. My laptop is very important to me. I use my laptop hours every day. I run my business through the laptop. So I'm not going to totally put that away, but I do need to get up probably every 60 minutes and walk around a little bit. So we're talking about you and your family. There are a lot of things that can potentially affect them. Just keep it in mind. But I want to show you the number one thing that I run into that is a very easy fix for you. It's this. Bet you have an alarm clock probably close to your head. So when I take my machine and I wave it over this right next to their pillow, they are very alarmed when they see the arrow going from left to right big time, and it's also making that loud noise. So I show them that if I move it just a couple of feet away from where they usually have it, and then I put it and check it again, there is no sound. The arrow doesn't react. So move the alarm clock away from your head. Just little things like that can hurt your immune system. Now, we all have air pollution in our houses. So let's talk a little bit about how to handle air pollution considering Feng Shui. Live plants are the way that I'm going to recommend to take care of this for you. Plants are really the single most effective thing you can do to bring this life energy into an area. Really important for a lot of reasons. But maybe more importantly, it cleans the air if you use the right plants. It will clean the pollutants out of the air for you. And of course, I also use them to soften sharp edges. So I use live plants for a lot of reasons when I'm working with a client. So here's one. You've probably heard of the peace lily. It has some really good effects to it. Here's what it removes. It removes alcohols and acetone. I can't say the next word, so I won't try. Benzene and formaldehyde. And it's also easy to care for. And it looks like this. So it's, you know, very attractive. It goes right in any room. I especially like using it in a bedroom, but it can be used in every room. I'm only going to talk about one other plant. I have a module that quite often I do that talks about 12 different plants that can do it, that do an awful lot for you to get rid of pollutants. But let's just talk about one more, the Boston fern. You probably heard of the Boston fern. Looks like that. You've seen them in offices from here to there. It also removes most pollutants, okay? And it does require a little more attention. So you do need to make sure you take care of these plants. So do's and don'ts. Avoid dry flowers. Pointed leaves are more yang, and that means the chi moves a little quicker. So pointed leaves are a little bit better to use in more social areas. You always want to avoid spiky plants in smaller rooms. Round floppy leaves are more yin, which is more of a inward sleepy kind of environment. And so it's a great thing for a bedroom. But here you go. Most tropical plants brought indoors will help remove toxins from your air. So it won't hurt you if you have the means to bring in a couple of tropical plants. Now, I advocate you to go to Google after we're listening to this and possibly looking up different plants, indoor plants, and what pollutants they'll actually remove. Some of them are just so remarkable what they'll do for you. So in general, avoid thorns and sharp pointy plants. You want softer, rounder leaves. Bring some color in. Contrast is always much more joyful. Shy away from overdoing anything. That is true for everything in Feng Shui. Any extremes is not good. Soften harsh lines. We don't want straight lines. We don't want 45-degree angle corners. We want to soften those things, and we've already gone over some of the ways to do that. And never, never, never keep dead or dying plants. Take them out. So, quick summary on air pollution. Live plants bring uplifting energy. They remove pollutants. And another advantage, because right now we're looking for a lot of things that are going to make us feel good about ourselves too. It promotes the idea of caring for a living thing. So doing some work outside, as I've mentioned once, can be very helpful, can be very positive, give you some exercise. And again, allows you to focus on that feng shui task. So I'm going to show you some things that are not good. And you might have some plants or trees or whatever outside that are doing this. Please cut these back. Now, that's a beautiful crepe myrtle, okay? But it's been allowed to just do its thing. And it now covers up a window and therefore stops natural light from coming into the house in that window. Natural light is pivotal for your health and your positive feelings. Now look at this one. Not only does this stop a lot of the natural light coming in, okay, but it also really hurts the circulation of our energy, our chi outside. So it really, really hurts in a lot of ways. So these are good tasks to take on. You don't have to spend hours and hours outside. You don't want to exhaust yourself at this point. You want to keep your energy and your immune system up. But spend 30 minutes or 60 minutes working on these tasks and you'll get a lot of benefits out of them. So we want lots of this. We want a lot of sunshine, a lot of natural light coming in there. Don't closet yourself in. Don't close your blinds and your curtains all day long. That is not good for you. Certainly do it at night for the privacy, but immediately the next morning, open them up. Now, I'm going to advocate something called a space clearing. This can be very helpful to you. I'm going to give you one way to do a space clearing, okay? There are a lot of ways to do space clearings, and I'm even going to give you a poor man's way of doing a space clearing. So what's a space clearing? It's a special form of clearing that harmonizes and balances the flow of energy in our personal living spaces at a very, very deep level. Why do it? Well, energetically, everything that ever happens in a building radiates outward and is recorded in the walls, the floor, the ceiling, and the furniture. So anything negative that happens in your space doesn't leave unless you make it leave. So, for example, if you had a bankruptcy, you lost a job, your significant other died, these things are really traumatic and they're going to hang around. And we've got to clear that stuff out. So again, your immune system stays up. It's recommended to do one once a year, at least. And it's especially important if your environment was the site of a tragedy or emotional turmoil. And I would agree that probably the death of a loved one, a bankruptcy, a firing, whatever, an epidemic certainly could be added to the list for why doing a space clearing can keep the energy in your house very positive and uplifting. So some benefits you might notice from doing a space clearing are increased energy, better sleep, strengthened immune system, improved communications, stronger, healthier plants. Your pets are going to love it too. Better relationships, improved creativity, great time to write your book. A feeling of ease, well-being, and peace. So there's a lot of benefits from doing it. And a lot of folks actually do them every few months that are really into it. And they really love the way they makes their environment feel. So you want to pick a good time. Now in Feng Shui, they are primarily promoting between 11 and 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay? You don't have to do that. The best thing to do is to make sure it's a time when you're not rushed or disturbed. You want to get through the whole process and give your whole effort into it. So you're going to start with a very clear and simple intention. You're going to use your mind here. You got to have an idea what you want to happen. You want to visualize this old poor energy leaving and new uplifting energy taking its place. So when you're cleansing a space, walk around the room slowly and focus on clearing this energy out. And don't forget to focus in the corners, behind doors, and even the closets. Some people forget those areas. We're talking about the whole place. And you want to spend time under things too, like the beds. Now, here's one way to do a space clearing. This might be too complex as far as you're concerned, but it doesn't have to be. So leave one window open, allow the stale energy to leave and the new energy to come in. You're going to go around the house in a clockwise direction, clapping strongly or using a Tibetan bell that you can see over there on the right-hand side. And you're going to be doing these things from low up to high. You're sort of raising the energy. Think of it that way. I have done it without bells. I have done it with bells, but I've done it with just clapping. So as you enter each room, recite a prayer or a mantra or an affirmation that you made up while visualizing this old negative energy getting out of here. Okay? So then you head back to the front door, light a sage smudge, walk the house the same way again, making sure you wave it in every corner up and down. Now you're saying that doesn't sound real, but here's some research that backs it up. Scientists have observed that sage can clear up to 94% of airborne bacteria and disinfect the air. So sage has been used for thousands of years, folks. It might sound a little weird for you, but it really does work. So again, you can walk around clockwise, clapping and visualizing, then you can use the sage. And then you can walk the house one more time using incense of choice. You're saying, isn't this overdoing it? Well, here you go again. It's long been used to purify the air, and it has proven that it takes care of antibacterial properties and purifies the air also. And it's a great way to end it off. So like I said, there's other ways to do a space clearing. Go to Google, you'll find multiple ways. This is the way that I learned and I have done it, okay? But the most important thing is that you got to use your brain and intention. You've got to know what you're doing. You got to focus while you're doing this. Make sure you focus on the outcome. So raise the energy by doing space clearing. If you think that's too much, do a deep cleaning and remove clutter. Do a deep cleaning and remove clutter. Now, what do I mean by a deep cleaning? You've probably never done one of these. All right, you're going to work from baseboard up to the ceiling, getting rid of all the dust, okay? You're going to remove clutter and get it out of the house. You're going to get organized. So just doing these two things, and the deep cleaning itself will probably take you a full day or two. And just by doing those things, you're going to raise the energy. So if you feel more comfortable with that, go with it. And then I would advocate you doing the 3 secrets of reinforcement, whether you do the space clearing that I recommended or just doing deep cleaning and clutter control. The 3 secrets of reinforcement go like this. There's a voice component, body component, and a mind component. And you do that after you've done the space clearing. So the voice component is this. You're going to recite an affirmation or a prayer. A lot of the folks that I work with use the Lord's Prayer. The body components are putting their hands together in prayer. That's the most common one in our country. And the mind component is visualizing what you want to have done. So that is the 3 secrets of reinforcement. The only thing I forgot to tell you in the voice component, you should say the Lord's Prayer or your affirmation or a mantra 9 times while you're doing the other 2 things. Hands together in prayer, visualizing the positive effect. Okay, I'm sure a lot of us would like to hire this guy, but here's another study from Indiana University this time that found people with clean houses are healthier. So again, it goes back to that deep cleaning. And they also found out that house cleanliness was even more of a predictor for physical health than neighborhood walkability. So a deep cleaning changes a person's emotions, I promise you. And I use deep cleanings when I have somebody helping somebody to sell a house. It does work, it does help. There's another study. Women who describe their living spaces as cluttered or full of unfinished projects were more likely to be depressed and fatigued than women who describe their homes as restful or restorative. The survey backs all this up, including the idea of making their beds every day, how that sort of seems to allow them to stay healthier, or having clean sheets a lot, where they get a great night's sleep because they feel even more comfortable. All these things affect our subconscious, ladies and gentlemen. So take advantage of some of this stuff. This research has been going on for a while. So as I've mentioned, sleep is hugely important in Feng Shui. Your health is tied to that so closely. So Feng Shui affects us both physically and mentally. It is never all one or the other. It creates a safe, comfortable environment physically, but it also mentally and emotionally empowers us to be more open and creative to our everyday existence in our environment. And finally, if you've never meditated, you might want to consider doing that now. It's a great practice. It'll actually change your brain. It'll make you feel a lot better, less frustrated. Just start with 5 minutes. Every one of us can find 5 minutes. Nowadays, you can find a lot more than 5 minutes if you're cooped up like I am. And then during that time, visualize what health looks like to you. And to me, there shouldn't be any formal rules. Just relax when you're doing this. You see the picture of that lady there. I mean, who wouldn't want to be sitting there looking out at that beautiful scene? But we're not going to be able to do that. And some of us aren't going to be comfortable sitting like that either for long periods of time. If you can, fantastic. But the way I like to talk to people is, even if you have to lie down and do this, okay, or sit in your favorite chair, that's just fine. Let yourself go and meditate. Now, I'm not going to talk about how to meditate. There are a lot of ways to do it. Again, dear old Google will help you with that if you'd like to try it. But it will help your health also, mentally and physically. So in summary, take the time to do a deep cleaning at least. I prefer you do a space clearing. Reduce clutter everywhere and get organized. Add some new plants and nurture them. Nurture them inside and out. Get outside every day for at least 10 to 15 minutes and soak up some sun. It's so important to you. And improve the views out your windows so you get that advantage too. Correct those sharp edges, those poison arrows. Make sure you get plenty of sleep. I'd like you to meditate daily. That would be very, very positive. So please consider doing that. And then stay positive. It's real important that you stay positive. And if you do all these things, I think we're all going to be able to get through this just fine.